You've heard the analogy before. Rome wasn't built in a day. That said, a lot of you are building your Colosseum, and then as you get like a little bit of progress, you increasing the height of it, you think, fuck it, let's tear some of these bricks down. Let's reverse a bit of, not all of it, but we'll bring some of the bricks down. And what I mean by this is, any training split you follow, it will work. The exercises you do, they fucking work. Do you know why? Because the exercises are simply there to put external stimulus on your body, specifically on your muscle. The analogy of where progressive overload came from is back in the day there was a guy who had a bull and he used to carry his bull from one location to the next. Now the bull obviously got older and older and older and grew bigger and bigger and bigger. So he naturally, just through carrying it small day after day after day, got stronger and stronger and stronger. This is the same analogy. This is why if you do one exercise, carry a bull for example, you're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So the issue is not the exercise you think it is. The issue is not the training split. Any training program I can tell you now will work. For the longest of time, there was two reasons as to why I wasn't really growing the muscle I should do, and I see this common in most people when they're trying to grow muscle. This is why you're tearing down your Colosseum when you were making progress to build it up. Now, the first reason as to why you're not making progress is the way you are doing the training split itself. Now, you are going in with a slight bit of ego, trying to just move as much load as humanly possible. You think, as long as I can move that movement from A to B, I'm going to be growing muscle, I'm going to be in a good space. And while that's kind of true, it kind of isn't at the same time. See, the exercises work, it's how you do them that is not really correct. And you hear about good technique, this, that, and the other, but what does this actually mean? Instead of lifting the load from A to B, start to think about stretching and shortening the muscle under the load. Start to actually think, am I using the working muscle here to move this load, or am I doing everything I can globally to move the load from A to B? For the longest of time, I was more into powerlifting because I was fairly strong for the weight I was at. And I could globally move loads from A to B, use as much muscle as possible to get this from up to down. I could back squat like 195. I would show you a video, but you don't really care anyway. So my issue was getting muscles to grow, lifting with a hypertrophy stimulus. So the way you get around this, first of all, just fucking, for the love of God, slow down what you're doing. If you actually slow down your load, the movement, the tempo, if you actually come from the top, go 3, 2, 1, pause at the bottom, be present within the lengthened position, and then drive back up, you'll actually realize how well you can stimulate the working muscle. The reason why a lot of you can't stimulate the working muscle is because you come down like this, fast, and then you go, and you try and grind it up towards the top, and you think the way you build muscle is the lift coming back up, the shortening of the muscle, or the concentric. It's not. You get so much muscle damage for what's known as the eccentric, or the lowering phase of each repetition. And because you come down slower, guess what? You can pause at the bottom and not lose the tension. How many of you come down to your chest, shoot straight back up, or you do this weird thing where you'll come down and you'll like rest it on your chest? Tension's gone at that point. And if you're using a dumbbell or barbell, all the money was at the bottom because it's a blunt weight. So the only reason why this load is putting stress on your muscle is because of the distance between the joints when you do the movement. So when you're at the bottom, the distance between the joints is the greatest. When you're at the top, there's no resistance. You stack your joints on top of each other. So the bottom phase of a dumbbell and a barbell, that's where the money is. But a lot of you rush through this. A lot of you don't pause at the bottom. So no wonder you can't also contract correctly on the way back up. The next thing you're doing is you just don't go down deep enough. You only go halfway through because you picked a load that's too heavy, and the lengthened portion you are weaker. You're strongest in the middle. As you get towards the lengthened position, you're weaker than you are in the middle. That's why you don't go down as deep. That's why you don't grow muscle. Distance traveled will be a means of stimulating the muscle. You are only strong for a certain range. You're leaving that much amount of gains, which will pack on a good amount of tissue. The next way of execution is to think about the actual arm path. If you're pressing, most of you will think press the load up. That's not really the case. The chest starts here by the sternum. It will run across your rib cage, it will sit onto your upper arm. So you need to think about bringing the start of the muscle and the end of the muscle together. So you actually need to think about bringing your upper arm this way, not up, this way. So if you think I need to drive my bicep towards my pec to shorten the load, then you're going to contract the muscle. Now guess what's going to happen automatically? Everything from here upwards is going to move as long as this moves. And guess where it's going to look like it's going? Up. It's going to look like it's going up, but just look at my upper arm here. It's coming across. As a result, this is going up. So it's still going to look the same, but it should feel completely different. Take that approach. You don't need to be specializing in anatomy and exercise physiology to understand this. Where does the muscle start? Where does it finish? How would I bring the two of them together with the load in my hand? And I tell you now, you will come off each movement fucking burning. Most of you row and you just use your arms. You row like this and your biceps get blown up because you don't use the traps. You don't use the working muscle. If you just drop some of the load and thought, how do I pull this with my traps? Oh, I move my scapula first. Oh, but that's only a short movement. Now I'll drag my elbows back to completely wrap the traps back around my back. Oh, would you look at that? And what happened to my hands? Well, they followed where my elbows went, so I was able to contract the muscle. A lot of you just simply pull the load from your hands, when really you want to be lifting the load from the working muscle. The last thing is training, obviously, with intensity, but only do that when you've got the first three in order. Lift it slow, lift it deep, and lift it with the working muscle, bringing the origin insertion together, then train like a savage. Then train like a savage, and I guarantee you will start to grow. I know this because I've literally done it. In 2020, as from the thumbnail, you can see the picture of my physique, and I was lifting all of the opposites to what I've just told you to do. Now I lift like this now I've grown muscle. The second reason as to why you will not see the progress is everything I've just told you to do, you won't do it for long enough. Do you know why? Because your own brain will come up with solutions as to why you should change your training program, why you should add this exercise in. And do you know where this comes from? It simply comes from you seeing a guy in the gym with bigger traps and you're like, that's it, we need to put more traps in. Then you'll come in the gym, you see some guy doing some weird forearm curl with like a good veiny forearm, you're like, that's it again, yep, forearms, they need to go in there now. Then it's like, actually, this training split I'm following, well, it's kind of optimal, but then I watched another fitness video and they said don't do this training split, so I should change. And then you change your training split. So it's like you make a bit of progress, build your coliseum. As you start to get the next foundation, fuck it, let's go back to the bottom and start again with a new training split. And let's not push past this barrier, this height of the coliseum, this run of the stand. Let's go back to the bottom again. This is what most of you are doing consistently. Do you know how I know this? Because I see it more often than not, and I used to do it myself. This is how I can speak it back to you and understand that this is your issue. Do you know why? Because any program for about the first 4, maybe even 6 weeks, you will fly in your numbers. This means it looks exciting, I'm making progress, numbers are going up, I'm feeling more confident doing it. Because actually what you've done is, you started off in a movement, your body got used to the movement pattern, and it got up to a point where it was always kind of strong enough to do that load. It just didn't have the mind-muscle connection, the movement pattern to go with it. But now when you get to the point to get an extra rep, it's really fucking tough, isn't it? It's really hard. You actually have to grind like an absolute savage just to get that extra rep, or to get that extra 2.5 or 5 pounds on the load. Now that is the point. That's the pinnacle point where a lot of you fucking change your training split and go again because you think, I need to shock the muscle. You don't. When you start to feel that, that's when you're building muscle. That's when you're growing muscle. Because you push into that next rep, and it was a grind, it was hard to do, that's the external load. That's the external stimulus you needed. You'd worked your way up to this point beforehand, and then you just fucked it off. Don't. When you get to that point, remember what I'm saying to you now. Stay on that training plan, get the extra rep. Once you hit the upper tier of the rep range, add a little bit more load. Here's a very, very side tip for you as well. If it is a movement that is a compound style exercise where you lift a fair amount of load on it, the way you get round plateaus is, let's say you can't get the 10th rep. You've been leg pressing 300 kilograms for the last 3 weeks, you can't get the 10th rep. Do you know why? Because you're having to move 300 kilograms all the way up and all the way down again. This is how we get round it. Add more load to the bar. 5 kilograms each side, but you're going to do the same reps, because if you times the load by the reps, it's not that much more with the extra load on, but to move that load again for another rep would be drastic. It'd be 300 kilograms again, but instead I'm going to tell you to do 310 times 9. That's only an extra 90 kilograms, not 300. So that's how you push past that when you get a sticking point. On something like isolation, small muscles, that's going to be the same. You're going to do it for reps. So I can't do the 12s, I can do the 10s, but I can now get 17 instead of 15. That's the way you push past that. Sit in your training split for 6 months to a year. I never change my training split. I'll do it once a year, and I'll rinse that out for the longest of time because I've felt the effects of not doing this. So That's why you're not building muscle. That's how you fix it with the 2 points I've just mentioned. If you found this video of value, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.